Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers. This is the Adidas Adizero Evo SL, and this is the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5. Now, if you are currently in the market for an up-tempo daily trainer, potentially you can race in as well. These are definitely two options to look at. If you are sizing up one of these shoes, you're not sure which one to go for, which one might be a better fit for you, that's what we're going to take care of and answer in this video. Now, myself, Nick and Tom have all been spending time in both of these shoes, and what we're going to do is take you through the key differences first, get into some running thoughts, and let you know whether you should go for the Adidas Evo SL or the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5. Okay, let's run you through those key differences, and we'll start with price. If you want the cheapest of the two shoes, it's the Adidas Evo SL that you want. In terms of weight, the Adidas Evo SL comes in a little lighter when we drop them on the scales, but these are both very light for daily trainers. In terms of drop and stack heights, the Speed 5 has a higher drop, with the Evo SL offering a higher stack at both the heel and forefoot. The uppers are made from different materials, with the Speed 5 offering more padding in the tongue, with the Evo SL using a skinnier, more gusseted style one. In the midsoles, Saucony offers its Power Run PB foam alongside a nylon plate set inside of its Speed Roll rocker design. The Evo SL uses Light Strike Pro foam and a forefoot rocker design to give you some of that roll you get in the Saucony shoe. Below that are outsoles, where Adidas isn't overly generous with its use of its Continental rubber, while the Speed 5 features rubber in similar areas with some exposed areas to help keep that overall weight down.
Okay, so the fit for me in these two shoes. So the Evo SL is a funny one. It's an Adidas shoe. Normally you expect with an Adidas shoe, especially in the UK, to go up half a size over your normal UK size. So I'm a size 8 in the UK, and I got this in an 8.5. And I bought this from a shop when I was over in Dubai. And I tried on three different shoes just to see what they all fitted like. And I went for the 8.5 because I did try the 8 on, and my toe was touching the end of it when I was walking. So I went for the 8.5, and I'm very glad I did, because I found this to be a really comfortable shoe. It's actually very roomy for an Adidas shoe, especially a sort of performance level shoe. There's quite a lot of space in the forefoot and the midfoot as well, so it's quite a nice accessible shoe. It's not particularly narrow shoe. Nice bit of padding in it, but also it's quite lean as well, so it does a good combination of comfort and still retaining this light feel. So I would go half size up in the Evo SL. The Saucony Endorphin Speed 5, spot on, size 8 in the UK, and the uppers, I think they've changed the front of the upper a bit, so it's a bit roomier. There's definitely the perfect amount of space for my big toe. There's lots of space in the forefoot now to move your toes around, but still a good lockdown fit in the midfoot, and a good level of padding as well, but not too much. So I'd stay definitely to my UK size 8 in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5.
So in terms of fit, I've actually got these two shoes in different sizes. I've got the Endorphin Speed 5 in UK size 8. I've got the Adidas Evo SL in 8.5, and I would actually go for the same sizes in both of these shoes. I think with the Speed 5, this one feels like it fits most true to size. I think with the Adidas Evo SL, it's really kind of representative here, I think, of Adidas's sizing being a little bit off at times, and I would go for 8.5. I think it just gives you enough room, particularly up front in that toe box area, and I'd be a bit wary about how close it would sit against my toes going for my usual size 8. Other key takeaways I would say is that if you look at the kind of general kind of makeup of these shoes, the Adidas Evo SL definitely opens up a lot more, particularly in the midfoot and that kind of forefoot area. So if you've got slightly wider feet, I've got kind of skinny, narrow feet, I do notice that extra room that you're getting here, and I think that is going to be a better fit for people with those kind of wider feet. The lockdown feel of this kind of more traditional lacing, like the padding in the tongue as well. I think with the Adidas Evo SL, I'm not a massive fan of these kind of slightly skinnier kind of laces that you're getting here. This tongue, you know, is very skinny, but also I do think it can have a habit of kind of moving out of place if you don't get that lockdown initially, with the lacing done very well. Level of padding around the heel collar, kind of quite similar actually, very flexible in terms of those heel areas as well, slightly more raised in the Speed 5. And I would say potentially you're maybe getting a little bit more padding or that padded feel on the Speed 5, whereas it feels a little bit thinner on the Adidas Evo SL. But yeah, I think, yeah, if I had the choice again, I would go true to size in the Speed 5. I would go half size up in the Evo SL, and it's definitely the more accommodating shoe for kind of wider feet as well.
So when it comes to the fit of the two shoes, I have a UK 9 in both, which is my normal size with both of these brands, but it does convert to different sizes in the US. With the Saucony, it's a US 10, it's a US 9.5 with the Adidas, and it does have a tighter fit at the front. As a result, I think both shoes are pretty much true to size, and I am generally in between those sizes, so I was happy enough with both of them, but bear that in mind if you're buying the shoes in the UK. You might have to go a size up in the Adidas, for example. Fit in general is pretty comfortable on both of these shoes. They've both got like enough padding, I think, around the back of the shoe to be comfortable for daily training use, but they're still pretty lightweight, minimal uppers that don't give you that oppressive feel that you can get from some very heavily padded shoes around the back of the shoe. Nice and breathable. So overall, I had no problems with the fit. If you're anywhere else around the world, just stick to your normal running shoe size. If you're in the UK, just bear in mind the slight difference in the way the size converts it.
We do Versus, and it's quite difficult to actually compare the two shoes because they obviously tend to be quite similar a lot of the time if they're trying to do the same thing. But these two are very, very different, but can be used for similar things. And the main difference comes down to that midsole. So obviously you have a plate in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5. You don't have one in the Evo SL. And the result of this Light Strike Pro midsole foam without a plate in it makes for a really enjoyable, bouncy ride. When I go out and you can do easy runs in this shoe. It's not the best easy run shoe out there, but you definitely can do it. I really enjoy doing easy runs in this shoe. But when you're going out, it just makes you run a bit faster. That Light Strike Pro midsole foam that goes all the way through it, it just bounces you along. And the first few times I ran in this, I was looking down at my watch and thinking, wow, I wasn't going out for a run at 4-minute 40 kilometer pace. I was going out for a run at over 5-minute kilometer pace, and it just seemed nice and easy to do it just because it's very bouncy and just feels very efficient. It rolls you very nicely as well, but it feels very natural and comfortable. It doesn't feel aggressive in any way. It just feels very fun, bouncy to run in, and it's really good for faster sessions as well. If you go out and do an interval session in this, if you go out and do a fartlek session, tempo, you can do all of those things. It's such a fantastic shoe for a variety of runs, and especially considering the price, which I'll talk about in the verdict. But that's the real benefit of the Adidas Adizero Evo SL is that it's that Light Strike Pro midsole foam is so nice and bouncy, and you get such a fluid, efficient, comfortable, cushioned running with it, which still allows you to go faster. So it can do pretty much everything, this shoe, and there's a reason why we keep putting it in our top lists, and it was top in the best running shoes category for daily shoes. So the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5. It is used for the same thing. It's a versatile daily shoe that's really skews towards the faster end of the spectrum, but it has a much firmer midsole. It has that plate in it, which gives it a bit more kick. It doesn't have the same level of energy return and bounce from it. I think the speed comes from that sort of quick responsiveness and a sort of subtle efficiency that you get from it as well. So the ride is very different. And I'm not a massive fan of firm shoes. I've never been an enormous fan of the Speed range because I much prefer a softer, bouncier ride. But I do like using the Speed, and I think as a training shoe, I think it's absolutely fantastic if you're using it alongside your carbon plate race shoes. Same goes for the Evo SL. It's a really good training partner for those carbon plate race shoes. So yeah, really like both of these shoes. I think they can do pretty much anything. I think the Evo SL is slightly better for somebody like me who likes cushioned shoes for easy runs and for faster runs, because I like a bit of bounce as opposed to that sort of quick, kicky feel that you get from the Speed 5. But both very, very, very good shoes, and I'm a big fan of both of these, but one more than the other. The outsole on the Speed 5, really good, same as what you probably expect from the from previous versions. A little bit of exposed midsole, but good level of rubber on it. The Evo SL outsole is surprisingly good. It's got this continental rubber at the forefoot and the bit clear rubber at the back, but it is fairly grippy and pretty durable after all of the 80 or so K I've done in the shoe. So yeah, big fan of both these shoes. Pretty good outsoles on both.
So in terms of my running time in these two shoes, I've actually been playing a bit of catch up on using and running in the Adidas Evo SL, because I've had it a little bit later than the other guys, but I'm kind of in and around 50K in that shoe now, on to kind of 50K in this shoe. I've raced in the Speed 5 as well. I haven't raced in the Adidas Evo SL, but I've used them for similar runs, so kind of tempo runs, kind of rep sessions as well. I've done some longer runs in them as well. And the first thing I'd say is that these are absolutely shoes that have a lot of versatility about them. If you like a shoe that can handle some faster running time, but actually are shoes that you can ease off in as well, these are absolutely shoes that allow you to do that. I think, from the kind of weight point of view, they sit at good weight. So if you're looking for a reasonably light shoe to run in, these are two shoes that kind of fit the bill. In terms of that experience, what I would say is with the Adidas Evo SL, it definitely feels like there's a little bit more foam underneath your foot when running in the shoe and running a little bit faster, but there's some bounce, there's some liveliness. You're not getting a plate in here. That doesn't mean you're getting a nice fast feeling in this shoe. I think with the Speed 5, again, it definitely leans more to running kind of faster in. I think the way it's made, how that Paron PB feels, that nylon plate that's in there, the structure of the shoe just feels a little bit more snappy compared to what I would say the Adidas Evo SL is when you are running faster in the shoe. I think where I've seen the biggest differences is when I've decided to ease off, coast and cruise in these shoes. I think the Adidas Evo SL, particularly with the amount of kind of foam you're getting in the forefoot of this shoe, just lends itself better for kind of those cruising style runs where you're not running hard and fast but still keeping a good kind of tempo style pace. I feel like there's a bit more protection going on that front with the Adidas Evo SL. Whenever I thought about doing a kind of longer run, I felt like the Evo SL was a better fit. You absolutely can do that in the Speed 5, but again, I do think there is an emphasis on you running a little bit harder and faster and rolling through a little bit quicker in the Speed 5 compared to the Adidas Evo SL. But I do think they excel for the same types of runs. And while I haven't raced in the shoe, I think, this is absolutely capable of handling some faster time. And I think would be a good shoe to cruise in kind of a half marathon and marathon as well. In terms of stability, I think you're definitely getting a little bit more stability in the Adidas Evo SL. This is relatively stable for a style of shoe like this, which does have a plate, not a carbon plate, but has a nylon plate. But again, I think, for a lot of people, maybe they might find it that that's slightly more unstable compared to the Adidas Evo SL. In terms of outsoles, I mean, you're not getting incredible outsoles on here, not huge amounts of rubber. Maybe there is a little bit more on the Speed 5. They're both giving you kind of exposed areas as well, so they're not entirely covering those outsoles of rubber. I've run in wet conditions in both of these shoes. I've been fine and handled those conditions. I definitely think there are better outsoles out there on shoes in this kind of category, but I do think in terms of sticking to roads and pavements, absolutely that's what I would do. And I think these are both well suited for that kind of running terrain. So yeah, absolutely, these are two kind of shoes that I've really enjoyed running in. I've enjoyed running faster in them. I've enjoyed easing off in them as well, and I think they offer a lot and are going to be good shoes for people that are maybe looking for one shoe to cover a lot of runs and also potentially some racing time as well.
So the Adidas Evo SL and the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5 are two shoes I like a lot. I've done a lot of running in both shoes. I think about 160k, 100 miles in the Evo SL, about 90k in the Endorphin Speed 5. They're two shoes that I really value for their versatility. I've done some extremely hard sessions in both of these shoes, as well as using them for very relaxed runs. And while the Endorphin Speed 5 is a little bit less exciting to me because it's pretty similar to the previous models of the shoe and just continues the excellence of that line, it shouldn't be discounted just because it is the latest very good shoe in a line of very good shoes. The Evo SL, though, is really exciting. It's probably my favourite new shoe of the year so far, just because it is really versatile. It's really good value. You've got a really nice foam in the midsole, and it's just really fun to run in across a range of different speeds. So when it comes to the difference in the ride feel, you've got probably, I think, a slightly bouncier feeling and softer feeling at the back of the shoe with the Evo SL. The Lightstrike Pro midsole foam here doesn't have too much of a plate at the back of it. Like, there is still some stiffness to this midsole. Actually, if you look at the two of the shoes, it is stiffer than the Endorphin Speed 5, despite the fact this has a plate in it, because the nylon plate in that shoe is so flexible, and there is like a plastic shank in here as well. But at the back of the shoe, it is very soft and comfortable because there isn't really a plate there at all. So you are getting a nice kind of mushy landing at slow paces, and then when you start to speed up, you get moved very quickly through the length of the shoe and nipply off this forefoot rocker with that stiffness, the sharp rocker coming into play and just making it a really fast shoe for turning over your feet with a lot of bounce from the Lightstrike Pro midsole foam. Now, you don't get quite so much bounce from the Endorphin Speed 5. This Power Run PB foam that's been around for a while is, a really good foam, but it's not as soft and springy as some of the modern super foams, including Saucony's own Incredi Run foam. But what you do have is a very effective rocker in the shoe, and it's not as aggressive off the toes as the Evo SL is, but it's very smooth throughout the length of the shoe. And as a heel striker, I find it a very good shoe for getting in sync with, in rhythm with, at any pace really. Look, at easy paces, you get a nice soft landing at the back here, get rolled gently through onto your forefoot and just carry on your way. It's really good for those kind of recovery runs as a result. And then at faster paces, it's a faster transition. It almost feels like you're just kissing the surface of the road and just skipping along in it because the rocker is smooth. You get a little bit of punch from the foam and the plate. And yeah, it does really increase its versatility all round. And that rocker is almost the cornerstone to the ride feel, I think, of the Endorphin Speed, and has been since the first version of the shoes. So certainly two fantastic shoes. I did run in both of them at the same time, and you can feel the softness of the Adidas, but it isn't quite as stable for me, I think, as the Endorphin Speed 5, which does have a bit more width. It doesn't have a lateral side cutout as well, which does help. Like, it narrows around the midfoot, and it's not like an incredibly stable shoe, but the Evo SL is probably a little bit more wobbly because actually the full length plate in their Speed probably helps with that, especially as it has wings as well, whereas you don't get that on the Adidas. It does feel quite nippy on the foot. I have enjoyed it for easy runs, but I think there are people who will find it too unstable for that kind of thing. There'll be people who find the Endorphin Speed 5 too unstable for those easy runs as well, but probably it's more likely to work for more people. And then in terms of difference of performance, it's really hard for me to say. So maybe I think the Endorphin Speed might be a more easygoing shoe for easy runs and a slightly more stable one. It comes to all-out pace. I don't think I could really split them. I've done similar runs across both of them. I've gone all out and done a park run in the Endorphin Speed 5 in 16-14 as part of a session. I've done, I think, a hard tempo 5 miler, a hard tempo 6 or 8 miler in this shoe, as well as lots of short reps in both shoes. And they've always come up trumps. I really enjoyed the way they feel. Like I say, you've got a slightly more bouncy and explosive ride on the Evo SL and that really smooth rocker on the Endorphin Speed 5. But the result of both is a very effective ride across a range of paces.
My verdict on these two shoes is easy for me to do because of the type of runner that I am. I predominantly run in cushion shoes. I like cushion shoes for easy runs. I like soft cushion shoes for daily runs, and I like soft bouncy shoes for race day. And the Evo SL does all of that. It's basically my perfect shoe. It's a perfect training shoe. I probably wouldn't use this for racing in comparison to some of the complex race shoes that I want, because I do want my race day shoes to be a bit more aggressive. But the speed and efficiency you get from this shoe is all about that bounce and all about that soft cushioned ride that you get from it, which is really, really nice. Speed 5 is really good. I don't think much has changed really in this shoe over the past few iterations of it. Still a great option. It's still solid, still very fast, feels very lightweight on the feet. And for some people, probably better than the Evo SL, because the Evo SL is not the most stable shoe. Probably would be if it had a bit of a plate running through it or something, or some energy rods. But it's not a very stable shoe. So for some people, it might not be the perfect shoe, whereas the Speed is pretty stable. Feel a bit close to the ground. It's not bouncy. It's not doing as much noticeably in your running style. So solid shoe all round. But the other thing as well is the price. Now, the Evo SL coming in at £130 is madness, because that I think people would have paid a lot more for this shoe. Hopefully Adidas aren't watching this and they're going to put the price up for the next version. But it punches far above its weight or above its price for what it does. And it's a fantastic all-round shoe. So I would pick the Adidas Evo SL anyway, but for the price, I think most people would probably pick this as well, because it's just such a great deal to get. I think you're probably going to get a bit more durability from the Speed 5 though.
So my take on whether you should go for the Adidas Evo SL or the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5. Now, I'll start by saying these are two great shoes if you're looking for one shoe to cover all of your runs, and I think it will do that for most runners. And I think if you're looking for something to train in, to race in as well, I think absolutely these are two shoes that you should be looking at. If I had to pick one, I think I would be leaning towards the Adidas Evo SL, just from a price point of view and a value. And in terms of giving you a lot of the similar qualities that you are going to get on the Speed 5 for a lot more money. The way I kind of separate them is that I think if you're looking for a shoe like this that is a bit more comfortable at those longer kind of runs, or giving you a little bit more kind of comfort of those longer runs, I think the Adidas Evo SL will give you that. I think if you're looking for a slightly faster, snappier feeling shoe in this category, then I would be going for the Endorphin Speed 5. And I think it is a bit more kind of fitting for racing compared to the Evo SL. And if I was racing, again, I probably would reach for the Speed 5. But I think if you're looking for value, you can get hold of it. The Adidas Evo SL will give you a lot of the qualities of the Speed 5. If you are looking for definitely a daily trainer that has a little bit more of that faster edge, I would be going for the Speed 5, but if it was me, it was my money, I'd be grabbing the Evo SL.
So on to the verdict here, and it is really hard for me to split these two shoes. They are both excellent shoes that I really like running in at any kind of pace, and luckily there is an objective measure by which you can split them, which is price, and the Adidas Adizero Evo SL is a lot cheaper than the Endorphin Speed 5, and that would probably make my mind up if I was looking at between them, like especially if you're looking for a shoe to add to a rotation, primarily for fast training. The Evo SL does that job incredibly well, as well as the Endorphin Speed 5, maybe even better if you prefer the kind of softer, springier ride you get here, so you might as well go for it and make the saving there. If you're looking for one shoe to do everything, I think the Endorphin Speed 5 is probably a little bit better than the Evo SL because it's got a bit more stability, feels a bit more cruisy at those slow paces, really steps up to racing even very well indeed. But you are going to have to pay a bit more to get that from the shoe. It might be worth it if it's your only shoe to do everything in, but you can do everything in the Evo SL if you're not worried about the stability on it and you are still making that big saving as well. So yeah, overall, I'll give it to the Evo SL, but in terms of performance, these are two cracking shoes and two that I've loved running in. You could possibly put both in your rotation in some way. They do cover fairly similar bases, but you just have two great shoes then. And that's never a bad thing, is it really?
Okay, there you have it, a multi-tester take on how the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5 compares to the Adidas Adizero Evo SL. And if you've got any questions about either of these shoes or other shoes you want to see them compared to, do let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about our latest videos. And yeah, we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.